All right, hey, Algebra 1 Part 2. Mrs. Stellhorn here. We're still concentrating on standard form of an equation, but this is day 2 of word problems, trying to figure out, okay, if we were to be one of these companies that, so yesterday we dealt with Stitch Fix a lot, but now I'm going to throw out at you the company of Tom's and the company Bombas and different companies. Anyway, of their restrictions and try to see if we can connect what we did yesterday to these other companies. No need to use color today. However, if you do want to use color, Mr. Opal, please press pause so people can at least get their notes out and get colored pencils, which are on the kitchen table, as well as calculators. Ladies and gents, if you have any sort of, like if I'm moving too fast, please raise your hand. Mr. Opal will pause the lesson and make sure everybody is sort of on board before he presses play again, because it's going to go quick. Today's essential question is the same as yesterday. How can we describe limited word problems using equations? Mr. Opal, please pause so that way they can write it down. I'm ready to go. Let's recall the setup from yesterday, how anytime we deal with a word problem, we should look at some sort of rate of change, like what's changing between two units. Typically, today, since we're dealing with companies, it's going to be money per something. Like yesterday, it was money per pair of pants or money per number of blouses. And then typically today, we're going to deal with the total amount of cost, whether it's to the customer or to the company. All right, our first word problem. Mr. Opal, please pause it so they can identify like anything important. So we're going to talk about what is the what are we trying to define here? What is missing? So we are talking about the company Tom's. How many people actually know what Tom's is? Go ahead, raise your hand. Anybody heard about the shoe company Tom's? Mr. Opal, please count that. All right, please write that down. I'm just kidding. I don't really care. But anyway, so company Tom's. What they actually do this. Every pair of shoes that somebody purchases, they send a pair of shoes over to a country that needs shoes. So anyway, our main focus here is trying to figure out a number of shoes that we need to buy. So let X equal the number of shoes that we're going to need to sell. So yeah, how many shoes will we need to sell? So number of shoes is going to be our X. Let's try to figure out how can we relate this in words. So we need the cost it is per shoe bought times the number of shoes bought plus the cost it is to send shoes. Times the number of sent shoes. This is going to equal, we want to break even. So, oh, wait a second. We also need to realize if you buy shoes, that's coming into the company. So this is sort of like a positive number. But then we need to send shoes and take it away. So I need to undo this plus sign. This is actually going to have to be a minus sign. So let me highlight that. We're going to have to take away the donation or the charity. This equals some sort of total profit. So when you keep track of what's coming in, and then take away what needs to go out, then that's going to equal your profit. Let's see how we can write this with numbers. To write it with numbers, it costs $100 times the amount times the number of shoes that we buy. We're going to take away $30 that it costs the company times, wait a second, and it actually says, what if I definitely want to send 10 shoes to another country? Then I'm literally going to put that 10 shoes into this spot. So unlike yesterday where we were talking about Stitch Fix and so many things go into a box and we had to take care of that, this one actually says send 10 shoes to another country. So that's how many shoes I'm going to send. Let's see, how much will we have to do to get a $200 profit? So now we're to the solving phase. We're going to multiply 30 times 10, getting us 300. To get the x by itself, we're going to have to add 300 to both sides. And again, Mr. Opal, you might have to be pausing this. We get 100x equals 500. Divide both sides by 100. We get x equaling 5, but we got to make sense of that. So how many shoes will we need to sell in order to send 10 shoes to another country? We've got to at least sell 5 pairs of shoes. So let's write that out in a complete sentence. We need to sell 5 pairs of shoes. So with this company, because it's dealing with a charity, sometimes we have to figure out, well, what's coming in and what's going out. That was the point of this. Let's go to the next one. Mr. Opal, give him some time to read and try to figure out what the variable is. So press pause. Okay, we've got 2 things going on here. We've got the, we've got camo socks. And we've got the gripping socks, which, by the way, this is a real company. Bombas, they do this. For every pair of socks they sell, they give another sock to a homeless shelter in the United States, because apparently that is the one item people need at a homeless shelter. If you think about it, everybody wears socks. So anyway, and they actually sell these on their site. They sell the gripping socks. They sell the camo socks. Apparently it's a big deal. So let's say they're trying to do a Black Friday shopping special, where they want to bundle certain pairs of socks without losing some sort of money. All right. So we are going to have two variables. Let x equal the number of camo socks and let y equal the number of gripping socks. So with this problem, we need to realize, okay, we've got to take the cost per camo sock times the number of camo socks we're going to, because we want to create a bundle together, we're not looking at profit or what, we're going to add the cost per gripping sock times number of gripping socks. We're just going to put GS. I think you get it. That's going to equal the total cost of the bundle. So now that we're to the writing an equation stage, we've got $12 per camo sock plus $14 per gripping sock. Whoops, I meant Y. And that's going to equal the total amount of cost we've got, which is $160. Yesterday, it was about this time that I asked, wait a second, there's something else that we're not keeping in track of. When you have 2 variables going on, you've got to figure out, well, what's something else that is being involved besides just dollars? So we put all the dollar sign stuff together, but then we want a combination of 12. So we throw in the fact that if we know the number of camo socks, we could take 12 minus that amount to figure out the number of gripping socks. So when I start solving, I'm going to change this y. So when I start solving 12x plus 14, instead of a y, I'm going to put 12 minus the x. If 12 is in the bundle and I take away the amount of camo, I get the gripping number of socks. We're to the solving part, so let's distribute. $14 times 12 gives us 168. Take away 14x. Let's get like terms together. So 12 and negative 14. So we've got negative 2x plus 168 equals 160. Take away 168 on both sides. And so negative 2x equals negative 8. Divide by negative 2. We're looking at x being a 4. So wait a second. If x is 4, what did we define x as? So we have 4 camo socks. And then if we have 4 camo socks, that means because 12 pairs of socks within a bundle, then that means 8 gripping socks. In this bundle. So if you want a special and you don't want to, you want to make sure you meet your quota for money and so on, we can, within the parameters, figure out what should be in the special. Let's go to the next. Let's say we're Kiwi Crate. I'll give you a moment to read it. Go ahead and press pause. So Kiwi Crate is a company that helps students. So Kiwi Crate is a company that deals with little kids and their crafts. And you can get a box a month. Well, in their special science and chemistry box, you can have paint markers, fabric markers, depending on, depending on how much the company wants to put towards that at some point in time. So we've got 2 variables going on right now, paint markers and fabric markers. So let X be the number of paint markers, let Y be the number of fabric markers, and let's see the setup of how this is going to be related. So we've got the rate of, so the cost per paint marker times the number of paint markers plus the cost per fabric marker times the number of fabric markers. That's going to equal our total cost. So Mr. Opal, please press pause so we can get this all down. Again, you don't have to color code. I'm just trying to keep it consistent with what we did yesterday. So each paint marker, $2 times the number of paint markers plus the rate of a fabric marker times Y, the number of fabric markers, equals the total cost that I'm willing to spend, which is $25. With this, because I can't deal with 2 variables, I checked back at, wait a second, within this box, a total of 7 items of these markers will be involved. So if I know the number of paint markers, I'll know how much I'll have left for the fabric markers by taking 7 minus that number. So I'll take 5 times 7 minus the number of paint markers equals 25. So let's start solving. Let's distribute. Let's get like terms together. Let's subtract 35. And then divide by -3. we get negative 10 divided by negative 3, which should mean that the amount of paint markers is about 3 1/3. But wait a second, amount of paint markers should be 3 1/3? You can't have 3 1/3 markers, so it's either got to be 3 or it's got to be 4. We've got to make sense of the problem. Which one is it? So let's do some hypothetical guesses. If we have 3 paint markers, then that means we have 4 fabric markers. Are we within our budget of $25 if this is possible? So like 2 times the number of paint markers, so 2 times 3, we're at 6. So this is a hypothetical. We've got $6 so far plus, well, 5 times 4. $5 times the 4 fabric markers, which is 20. We get over budget, so this is bad. So our guess of rounding down is bad. Let's round up and see what happens. Are we within the $25 mark? So again, rounding down was bad. Let's see, how does this change? If we try 4 paint markers, if we round it up, and then that would give us 3 fabric markers. How does that get affected here? So 2 times 4 paint markers, we get a total of $8 for that. 5 times 3 fabric markers, $15. Are we within our budget? We have $2, it looks like, to spare, because 8 plus 15 is 23. And if we can afford $25, then this would be the better deal. Sometimes it's not clear on, wait a second, yesterday we said we couldn't help this customer, and today we're saying, well, let's try something around this answer that could be within our parameter. Sometimes word problems are a little weird with their words, like we can afford. Yesterday we talked about how the customer has a set limit, like they're not going to pay any more, any less. So we'll discuss this more in class. What I need you to do is make sure you have all the notes taken. There is no homework. I will see you tomorrow.